chop wood, carry water. Or how can you be in two places at once when you're not anywhere at all? Western thinking monopolized the idea that we are the way, the only show in town for far too long. From the Greeks deciding that there's only one way to create health, by cutting out the offending part, to seeing the world as a black and white, straight line logic. This quandary relates to Minnick's principle of faulty generalizations that then build on to create more and more problems in the area of reasoning and assigning meaning. If the premise is faulty, how can anything that comes after this faulty reasoning be sound? How can we possibly discover that it's what it is that we don't know, as illustrated in the PowerPoint presentation of Dr. Trocco? If our premise is the belief that our basic ideas of reality are the only way to think, then the realities of other people will never make sense to us. For example, if Tibetans believe that the Dalai Lama is directly incarnated through a baby born after the previous Dalai Lama's death, how can we say definitively that this is not so? Do we relegate as bunk that a number of practicing lamas had visions or dreams of finding a baby in the northeast part of Tibet, close to the border of China? They then went to visit the small hut from the vision, presented items to a 3-month-old baby that had belonged to the previous, now deceased, 13th Dalai Lama. That this very young child was able to choose the items that had belonged to that man? Even one cane that was offered as a choice, more ornate than the other, which had belonged to the 13th Dalai Lama, the child then reached for it. They began to discount that this child was the correct one, thinking that this was not from the 13th Dalai Lama, when one of the monks remembered that this ornate cane had indeed belonged to the 13th Dalai Lama, who had given it to another monk. So in this way the lineage is continued. Our Western mind cannot fathom this as truth with a capital T because we have no reference point. It's almost as if our brains, that gray matter we hold in our cranium, is more like cement than a mass of gelatinous tissue with blood flowing, pumping through it every 3 to 6 seconds as it expands the brain tissue before flowing down the spinal cord. Our Western brains seem to become hardened with our thinking. The idea of epistemic privilege seems to be a Western mind phenomenon compared to the ways that the Eastern mind considers the many levels of a situation or the aspects of an object or idea. The idea of either or is unable to conceive of both and. Nisbet begins to track the problems inherent in the ways that are so deeply rooted in Western thinking, but I believe he does not go far enough. He seems to hesitate to claim that the Eastern ways of solving problems, as in his examples with lawyers and judges, could actually enhance our ways of dealing with crime. It is current thinking that mediation and conflict resolution is preferable to punishment or to only laying blame. It is clearly being shown that rehabilitation programs in which the whole person is considered and retrained so that the roots of the problem are dealt with, that this leads to a much lower rate of recidivism in prison populations. Another example is a person with Asperger's autism who may have a certain kind of genius for numbers or ability to play an instrument or be able to tell you from your birth date the song that was at the top of the charts. Mine, February 12, 1953, was Don't Let the Stars Get in Your Eyes. You can Google it. It was there. He does this in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes, searching in some part of his brain a file of information that he can go into and bring out the details. These type of people were once called idiot savant. An idiot that knows, savant, French for one who knows. It's a 2-word description that cancels itself out. How smart is that for a Western-minded label? It's this that I discount in the ever-widening field of labels being affixed to children. ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. What happened to this person, or what conditions are there that they exhibit defiance? OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Perhaps the compulsion is just another way of doing things. Even the most universally accepted PTSD is now being disputed because it seems to indicate that there's a problem within the person. That if they were somehow stronger or more balanced, that they wouldn't show the symptoms caused by living the horrors of war or repeated abuse or shock. Thus, I fall on the side of the East, that it is far more preferable to think in circles, in the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, that lessons of transformation are there for us to learn if we can open our minds, become flexible thinkers, and improvise in situations instead of continuing in our habit-driven ways of doing and thinking. Thank you.